Hi everyone, welcome to Tea with Ella. Grab yourself a cuppa if you haven't got one and get yourself comfortable. Let's have a little chat about something that I'd like to dig in with you today. So today I want to talk about something that I've noticed a lot in my coaching work, but if I'm honest, in myself too. And that's capable people finding themselves completely overwhelmed at times. Now, I think often we think that those two things don't belong together. Surely capable people have everything under control, when actually it's often the opposite. The people who become overwhelmed aren't usually the people who can't cope. They're they're often those very people who can cope with a lot. Often, they're organised, they're reliable, they're helpful, they're conscientious. You know, those are the people that everyone seems to turn to because they'll get it done. It's that classic phrase, if you want something done, ask a busy person. That's the kind of thing that these people are embodying, and I've been one of them. But that is exactly where the problem starts. So when you're capable, people naturally trust you more. At work, you become the person who can take on another project. At home, you become the organizer, the planner, the one who remembers birthdays, appointments, school letters, does all the school admin, knows what needs buying from the supermarket, knows all the passwords to everything. Friends know that you'll help when they need you. Family know that you will step in. And that's all wonderful. It started from a good place. But over time, more and more gets added to your plate. And the tricky part is that it rarely happens all at once. It's really gradual. So an extra thing comes along and you adapt. You tell yourself it's only temporary. You'll push through. It will be okay when this stops happening. And because you've managed before, you assume that you can keep managing, as does everybody else. No one's trying to hurt you. They don't see it like that. They just see that you cope. Until one day it's not manageable. And you're lying there at 3 a.m. in the morning, awake, thinking like all this stuff you haven't done. You just can't get it out of your mind. And you find yourself doing things such as like walking into a room and forgetting why you're there. Or someone asks you for one more favour and you feel like you want to cry, even though it's just actually a tiny request in itself, but it's because it's built upon other stuff. Maybe you even find yourself snapping at people you love. I know I've been guilty of that. Or maybe it's that you sit down for 5 minutes and you can't actually relax because your brain is still running through everything that needs doing. And in a way, a bit like being on a hamster wheel, you feel like if you stop, everything might fall apart. So it's easy to think that the answer means that you need to become more organized. Something's gone wrong here. We need to buy another planner. We need to get a better app. We need to get up earlier. Maybe we need to go to bed a bit later so we can fit more in. And don't get me wrong, organization has its place, okay? But organization doesn't solve overload. They're two separate things. If you think about it like this, if your backpack is already full of bricks, finding a better way to arrange the bricks isn't going to make it feel any lighter. Sometimes we need to stop asking, how can I fit more in? How can I organize it better? And start asking, should I be carrying all of this in the first place? That is a very different question and often quite tricky. But one exercise that I often come back to when this happens to me, and it does regularly, is a simple prioritisation matrix. So you draw a big cross, like a plus sign on a piece of paper, sort of vertical and horizontal lines crossing each other, like one I did earlier. And hold it again for a bit longer. And in the first box, I want you to write down everything that is important and urgent. And then in the next box, I want you to write down everything in your mind that is important but not urgent. Okay, then we're going to write down in a third box everything that's urgent but not important. And finally, in the last box, we're writing everything else, everything that's not urgent and not important. And actually, this first thing, just writing these things down, is amazing for your peace of mind, your overwhelm, because writing things down takes them out of your head. And that is a huge relief in itself, I often find. Now, those important and urgent tasks are the ones that we need to focus on. We need to get them done. Okay, they need our attention and they will give us the most satisfaction from having done them. But before we get to those, I want you to have a look at the important but not urgent box. And I want you to schedule some time in your calendar to get those done. Because doing this removes that need for us to keep thinking about them, keep worrying that we'll forget them. You know, we've booked in the time. We don't need to think about it until that appointment comes up with ourselves to get those things done. And you can make separate appointments to do however much you've got in that box. And then I want you to look at the urgent but not important. Okay, these are the things I want you to ask yourself some questions about. Can you delegate any of these to anyone else? Are you not responsible for this thing? It's just landed on your plate, and so you can pass it back to someone. You know, just because you're good at it doesn't mean you should necessarily have to do it. Could it be delayed? Is it actually urgent? Or would it just be nice to get it done, in which case we can move it to the other box? Will it only take a short amount of time? If so, let's get it done and get it off any of the list at all. And can we combine things or get them done differently? And then finally, we're going to look at that not important and not urgent box. Okay, if there's anything in there that is fun or would help your physical and mental, emotional well-being, or that would really help to get it done, then I want you to move it to one of the other boxes. Okay, self-care is really important, fun's really important, socializing is really important. Anything else, I want you to start thinking about, do I need to do this at all? Can I delegate it? Can I delay it much further into the future? Do I even need to do it at all? Like, can I just eliminate it? Okay. And then I want you to put that on a separate list so that we don't forget about them, but we don't have to think about them right now. And we can come back to it when we've got a bit more time. If you find it hard to delegate, and I know I did at first, although I'm pretty good at it now, but at first it was really hard to delegate, to push tasks back, to say no. These are all things I've had to learn myself. Then I would encourage you to ask yourself one further question at this point. And I want you to frame it slightly differently. So it's, what am I carrying that doesn't actually have to be mine? Okay. Maybe it is someone else's expectations of what needs doing. Maybe it's a responsibility that you've kind of gradually taken on over time, and actually you don't even remember agreeing to or why it's on your plate. Maybe it's your own belief that you should be able to do everything. Sometimes the most courageous thing that we can do isn't to keep pushing harder, it's to put stuff down. It doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing that your worth is not measured by how much you carry. If you recognize any of yourself in any of today, I would really love you to be kind to yourself. This is not about beating ourselves up. This is about figuring out a way forward. Okay, we're not incapable. We're just probably carrying a bit too much for a bit too long because we have been so capable and we haven't actually noticed how heavy our load has become, thinking back to those bricks in that backpack. I'd love to know what's resonated with you today, if anything has. And if you try the exercise, I'd really love to know how you get on with it. And if something you've been carrying, you've realised it's time to put down, I'd really love to know that too. Until next time, take care of yourselves and enjoy the rest of your tea.